I'm Russell Merritt from Neenah, Wisconsin. Hey, you're not another Packer fan. The people in this hall tonight are here because of the invested your money in anticipation and hope that you and Charlie would make that investment grow. We recognize that things go wrong, that we might lose money. But never, ever has it ever crossed our minds that we'd be cheated out of their money. Unfortunately, that's new. I'm sorry, having problems with this microphone. Unfortunately, particularly in the investment banking business, my confidence, and I'm sure the confidence of many people in this room, are falling. Particularly distressing are reports in the New York Times in the last week or so about private meetings in the Justice Department, the Securities Exchange Commission, the Fed, and others about the need or desire, the requirement perhaps, to bring criminal charges against some of the largest banks dealing business for, among other things, knowingly laundering billions of Iranian dollars through U.S. banks, knowingly laundering billions of drug cartel money through U.S. banks, soliciting on U.S. soil deals which would include tax evasion by moving assets offshore, and even fixing the library. The problem the Justice Department is having is that they are being told that if they bring criminal charges against those banks, and we can list those banks, it's been in the New York Times, that those banks would be sorely hurt, may be required to go out of business, and evolve into a new financial crisis of some sort. My question to you is, do you believe a financial crisis will come about as a result of bringing justice to criminal activity on a large scale? Or have we reached a new point where criminal activity in Wall Street is being institutionalized, sort of allowed to happen because they're too big to fail, too big to go to jail, and too big to be regulated to follow the law?
Charlie, you're the lawyer. You take it up.
Well, I think behavior on Wall Street is enormously improved as a result of the drama we've just been through. And so I think the worst of it is behind us. But you're never going to have perfect behavior when a bunch of human beings live in a miasma of easy money. This is always going to happen to some extent. And
how do you feel about the prosecution of individuals versus the prosecution of corporations?
Well, I think there's hardly anything that changes behavior more than prosecuting individuals. When they took Boy Scout leaders out of Pittsburgh or wherever it was and put them in the federal penitentiary for fixing steel prices, it really changed behavior of American businessmen. So I do think that a few criminal prosecutions do change behavior a lot. And it looks to me like we'll get a few.
Yeah. I may be biased a little bit by the experience at Solomon, but I lean way more toward prosecution of individuals than corporations. I literally saw, a bad act, or maybe multiple bad acts, by just a couple of people, and negligence in reporting by a couple more. Come close, certainly upsetting, hurting, and maybe destroying, possibly thousands and thousands of other people's lives, forgetting about the financial investment. And it did seem to me, when I've had that experience a couple of other times and what I've seen, that it really it may be easy. It's way easier to prosecute the corporation. The corporation is going to write a check, and it's somebody else's money, and the prosecutor knows he's going to get a win, basically, if he goes against the company. Whereas he got a way tougher job going against individuals. The company's going to cave. It's just their calculus is such that it just doesn't make sense to fight if they can write a check, whereas the individual is fighting to stay out of jail. So the prosecutor's got an easy case, or relatively easy case, and probably a headline-grabbing case if he goes against the corporation, and he has a grinded-out type of thing, which he can very well lose, and which really takes a lot of work against individuals. But I still lean very much toward going against individuals.
I do too. That's what I meant when I said, when antitrust violations were regarded as forgivable offenses, venial sins, we had a lot of them, and we still have some now that we prosecute people criminally. But we have really changed behavior on price fixing by the individual prosecutions, and we haven't had many of those prosecutions in finance yet, and we probably need some more. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will tell you this. We have 300,000 plus people working at Berkshire. Somebody is doing something wrong now. I mean, you cannot have a city of 300,000 people and not have somebody behaving badly. And that's the thing. That is the one thing that I don't worry about us making money. We'll figure out a way to do that. And it may be better or worse than we hope for, but it won't be a disaster ever. The disaster is if somebody is doing something wrong that actually reflects badly on the whole organization, and I know that's to a degree out of my hands. I can tell the managers, and they can tell the people that work for them that reputation is more important than anything else, and that's going to have an effect. And I think it's going to have more of an effect than giving them some 200-page manual. But it's not going to cure everything. And what we hope is when there is something wrong that we find it out early, and then it's up to us to do something about it. But we will have a problem of some sort at some time, because it just 300,000 people are not going to all behave properly every day. It just doesn't happen. But the individual prosecution, and I've written about that a little bit in the annual report, in terms of the way to change behavior is to have the fear, at least among people who may be doing the wrong things, is to have the fear that somehow it's going to come home to them and hit them hard. And if the only fear is that the company's going to have to write a big check, you're going to get way less change in behavior than if it'll hit home to the individual. Becky?
Qué buena respuesta. Que le preguntan a Warren qué opina de las actividades que están haciendo dentro de los bancos, por ejemplo, para el lavado de dinero desde Irán o de los cárteles, y si, por ejemplo, perseguir estas actividades ilícitas podría llevar a un colapso financiero, si él estaba de acuerdo en que la justicia debería estar por encima de los intereses de corporativos en Wall Street. Y entonces le aplauden, ¿verdad? Porque parece como una muy buena pregunta, pero también la respuesta es excelente, porque, o sea, estoy seguro que no es la primera vez que se lo ha planteado, por eso le dice, Charlie, tú contesta, porque es más como filosófico, pero él dice, pues es que yo estoy más de acuerdo en que debería haber, y por eso le sugiere, oye, ¿no te has puesto a pensar acerca de darle prioridad a la justicia por persona que por institución? Porque dice, si tú le pones una multa, pues eso no va, o sea, digamos como que la institución blinda a la actividad criminal, ¿no? Y ahora él dice, por ejemplo, yo no estoy diciendo que no pueda haber algún tipo de actividad ilícita dentro de Berkshire, porque básicamente somos como una ciudad, somos como 350,000 personas que estamos funcionando ahí. No significa que no va a haber empleados que no tengan un mal comportamiento, pero si tú sabes que te va a caer la justicia, pues eso podría modificar tu comportamiento.